Okay, so the class is being recorded, everyone. It doesn't mean that we have started only now, but we've been talking about something. So again, this is Dubliners, and this is our second class on Dubliners. Last time it was all about the background of the age and modernism and the difference between modernism and modernity. And we also touched on sisters, and we did a bit of encounter. We're going to revisit encounter today, and we're going to also talk about Eveline, and if we have time, we can move on. We now have the pleasure of talking to Wissam, and Wissam is going to tell us about Eveline. Eveline, Wissam, go ahead.
Um,
Am
uh,
I putting you on the spot?
no, no, no. I remember that she met someone that she wanted to marry, but otherwise she wanted to keep she promised her mother to keep the family together, and she wanted to act like Mary, the mother, I think.
She was inspired by the service that Mary, um, of course, we're talking about Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, the Virgin Mary.
Yes,
She is
and they
inspired by
insist.
her. Yeah.
Yes, they insist also on the term of metaphorical paralyzed, that she was unable to go and live her life and to explore with the world with her husband and so on.
Nice, very good. So those who have read Eveline, if we're starting with Eveline, so Eveline is a name of a proper noun, right? It's a name of a person, right? And obviously it's a name of a girl or a woman, right? Why? Why would, what does it give? What kind of impression do you have if you have a novel or a short story that has the name of somebody?
It means that they are the main character, the protagonist.
They can be the titular characters, yeah, they can be the main characters, and it can also give some kind of intimacy, right? You, especially if it's the name of a girl, where we're talking about sweet sensations and good feelings, and because normally, and from my experience, I have two I mean daughters. Girls are, softer, and they are nicer than, of course, their male counterparts. So having Eveline, the name of the protagonist on the book, would mean something. Okay, so we're in the other two short stories, whether we're talking about sisters or encounter, the main character was a boy. This time around, the main character is a girl or a woman, right? So, um, in the other two short stories, the focus was on how perhaps boys are abused. And I don't mean the negative associations of the word abuse. I mean abuse in the sense they are not treated well. They are made to feel guilty of every move they make. This is typical. This is what, as parents, we look at our boys. I mean, we don't give them the benefit of the doubt. We don't give the independence that they should have. So the Irish society was like that. Boys and kids were taken for granted. They are never consulted about what kind of education they should receive, what kind of books they should read. And this is what we have seen in Encounter, especially. Remember when the two boys skipped school? And I asked you this question yesterday. Why would you skip school? Why wouldn't you attend Dr. Samah's class today? And lots of people haven't attended. So if I think about it, I may say, and I'm not giving I'm not giving a good presentation. Perhaps I don't prepare well. Perhaps people don't like my attitude, the way I do stuff, right? So that would be a reason why you would skip a class. For boys in Irish society, it was like this. They skip classes because, as we have seen in Encounter, the kind of education that they receive is not uh, enriching, is not stimulating enough. It's all religion and it's all grammar and stuff because education was under the direct supervision of the Catholic Church. Obviously, if it's a church that is regulating education, it's going to be all about religion. So, what is, we're not saying that there is anything wrong with religion or something, but it's going to be a little bit dry. It's going to be focusing on Catholic values. You abstain from doing sin. It's not going to be stimulating. Remember what those guys wanted to read? They wanted to read Western stuff, Western, I mean, the American West, where you have adventures, where you have people fulfilling their potential. These are things that they didn't obviously found, right? So again, at one point, Joyce is trying to address the dilemma of children, boys, especially in the two novels, or in the two previous short stories, where they are, like I said, treated badly. They are not consulted on issues, what kind of education they would like to have, and also abuse. And it would also even verge on whatever sexual and sensual. Remember their encounter with this old weird guy. They were obviously accommodating and welcoming at the beginning, but they felt that something is wrong with them. So you would talk also about this generation gap. The old generation is suspicious of children, and children are also suspicious of old generation people. So you have a problem in Irish society at that time. And then comes Eveline to complete the image. So it's not boys that we're having anymore. It's a girl. Okay, and obviously we're not talking about a girl in her 15th or obviously we're talking about 20 or perhaps 30-year-old lady, young lady. Okay, so and what's the problem? The problem is that we're talking about societal expectations. Society expects her to behave in a certain way, while she wants to perhaps transform her potential and become something different. Okay, so she is set with tradition that tells her that she has to stay behind until all the male members of the family are settled. Okay, what happens if she has small brothers or younger than her? She has to wait until they are settled. Perhaps they get married, they go to college, they have jobs, and then she starts to think of getting married and having a husband, having a career. Is that fair? I'm asking you. Of
No, no at
course
all.
not,
Yeah.
right? So why do I have to sacrifice as a girl or as a woman? Why don't we share those kinds of sacrifices? You sacrifice sometimes, and I sacrifice some other times. This is obviously, or this was not obviously happening in Irish society. Women were treated quite unfairly. They were treated uh, um, in in a negative way. Okay, they have to bear the brunt of all the catastrophes in the family. If the family is poor, she sometimes has to go and work in order to bring food to the table. And what kind of jobs she would have if she's not well educated because she had to sacrifice her education? It's going to be a poor kind of education where as we're going to see in one of the other, in clay, for example, the jobs available are very uh, low-paying kinds of jobs. Again, another negative aspect of how women were treated. So this is what Eveline is all about. It's about this young lady. I'm not sure whether she is young because we were never told in those who have read the short story. I read it way back. I don't know whether we have, um, you know, a number for her age or not. But what we know for a fact is that she is under a lot of pressures by her family, by her society, and also by the religious institute, which is the Catholic Church. She had all those pressures, and she has to sacrifice her private life. She has to sacrifice perhaps the only chance to be happy, to live an independent kind of life with the guy that her heart chose. Again, those who have read Eveline, I would like you to raise your hands. Have you read Eveline? Alia did. Anybody else? Okay. So I would like you to read Eveline, لو سمحت. And Reem did also. Okay, nice. Again, some takeaways from Eveline would be the idea that we are in the spectacle and okay, so it's yeah, Dina, it's a short story. If you read a summary of a short story, what are you leaving novels? Oh yeah, okay. Mariam also read a summary. I mean, it wouldn't. It's only one sitting kind of thing. If you put your mind to it, you finish it in perhaps an hour or so because it's a short story, not a novel, right? But that's fine. Again, we're talking about the takeaways and the themes and the ideas that Eveline inspires. Eveline, the short story. Again, um, spoke about the idea of sacrifices that women had to give and offer during the time. Again, the pressures that are on women and girls, they have societal expectations. People expect them, or male as they are, expect them to stay at home to serve the whole family. And they ask them to be inspired by the Virgin Mary in that. Remember that the Irish society is predominantly Catholic, and the Virgin Mary in Catholicism is something so very big. She is even worshipped. And what do people know about the Virgin Mary? They know that the Virgin Mary is the symbol of service. The fact that she sacrificed a great deal. She is, like I said, whenever you think of service and helping others, you think of the Virgin Mary according to the Catholics. So Eveline is obviously Catholic, and her parents are obviously Catholic in a Catholic society. So when she serves her different family members, when she makes sure that everybody is settled before she can think of herself, she is inspired by the Virgin Mary, which is an indirect way of saying that this is the influence of the Catholic Church. Okay, do we agree with this idea of service? Obviously, if you help other people, this is good. There is obviously nothing wrong with that. But to carry it to extremes, to sacrifice your whole being in it, you sacrifice your life, your ambitions, you sacrifice your the prospects of getting married at the right time to the right guy. Obviously, these are big sacrifices. And why do women, this is the question that Joyce is obviously asking, why do women have to always sacrifice? Not, why not men? This is one of the questions that he asks. So this is what Eveline is all about. It's about this girl who is left behind in her family house. She was given the opportunity to go with a future husband to Argentina. She thought deeply about it, but she decided to stay. And what made her decide to stay? It's the expectations of society. She didn't want to bring disgrace to her family because her family and society and religion expect her to be around to help and to support her family to the last blood drop, obviously. Very sad and very smart on and very smart on the part of um, James Joyce. So if the first two short stories were about boys and the bad treatment of boys as a very important sector of society, boys and children are a reality that as parents we cannot deny or we can not uh, reject or go away from. Women is another sector, and it has, I mean, women has always been the butt of a lot of, abuse and attack and bad treatment. And obviously, Joyce is trying to say enough is enough. Why? Why do we have to be, as women, why do we have to always be on the receiving end of abuse, of bad treatment, of lack of equal opportunity and inequity and everything in between? Why? This is obviously what Eveline is all about. Let me see if I can share something. Okay. So Eveline, can you see that, ya جماعة? Everyone.
Doctor, yes.
Mumtaz, good. And if this is the picture, if Eveline was made into like a movie or a book whose cover is this one, I think it's the cover and the picture is very revelatory and very expressive and suggestive of what Eveline has come to or has been reduced to. Let's reflect on. I would like you to look at the picture and tell me what ideas and sensations are you getting from the picture. If you have to comment, if it's a close reading, but it's you're examining a picture rather than a text. What do you have to say about the picture? What kind of feelings and impressions are you having?
Can I say?
What's your name?
Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
It looks like she's lonely or she's waiting for something. She's very
Yes.
depressed
Yes.
or sad about something. She's
Yes.
thinking about something.
Yes. And she's giving us her back, not her face, right?
Yes.
Yeah, perhaps she's hiding from us. Perhaps she's hiding her tears. Perhaps she's hiding her sad facial expressions. right? And
Yes.
obviously she is all alone in what looks like a big room, right?
Yes.
And it's very significant that the window is not open, right? So if it's open, it means that there is a chance and there is an opportunity. Obviously, it's closed, which means that her window of opportunities are very limited, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the furniture? Do we have so many pieces of furniture?
No.
No, which is an indication that it's a bare minimum kind of living that she is having. Empty. The place is empty. Her life is empty.
The house is like the jail. It's like
Like
prison
what?
for her. The house
Yeah,
is,
the idea that it is, yes, locked. I mean, especially the window. I think it can also mean that she is locked somehow. It's more or less like a kind of a prison kind of life. And also the fact that she is perhaps paralyzed. She cannot move. And paralyzed, we don't mean the actual movement. Of course, she has legs and I can see them. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that if I ask her to kind of stand and move, she will move. But you can stand and move all the way, but you feel paralyzed from inside. When you don't have hope, when you don't have something to look forward to, when you don't have prospects for the future, when you are subjugated like this, when what you are expected to do is to stay home and serve everybody, obviously this is paralysis. Shalal. ولا إيه? What do you think?
yeah, definitely.
Yes, actually, because the way she sits also,
Mm.
her bent back and her hands is on the lap,
Hmm.
indicate that she is hopeless and paralyzed.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yes. Okay. So do we need to read a summary? Yeah, that's not going to take more than a minute. Yeah, read it. And it's obviously a two-page kind of thing. You need to kind of alert me when you have finished reading so that we can move to the second page. Yalla, go ahead. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Please let me know when you want me to move.
Done.
Okay. Okay. So does the plot reinforces our impressions that this lady is a victim of circumstance?
Yes.
Yeah, she's a victim of society, of old traditions, and even of the Catholic Church, right? It's family obligations. She made this commitment and promise to her mother, her dying mother, that she will not leave the house or think of anything like a job, or a good job, or perhaps a husband, unless her brother is, everybody else is settled. Again, and she also has to kind of meet and fulfill the image of uh, uh, women like her who are inspired by the Virgin Mary and her life of service. So a lot of pressures, as you can see. And by presenting them this way, obviously, Joyce has something to say. He wants to say that this is not fair. And obviously, the Irish society will not advance unless everybody is given their equal rights, and women are no exception. So what is happening? Actually, nothing is happening in the story. If you talk about action, so we don't have much action. These are short stories where the focus is on the character rather than on events and action. And because it's a 20th and an early 20th century kind of narrative, the focus is on the inner recesses of people, their psychology, and what happens and what is going on inside them. So Eveline is a story in which very little happens. Like I said, no action or movement. You wouldn't, of course, compare it to an encounter where you have a great deal of physical energy that is normally associated with boys. So it's all about a series of thoughts and reminiscences. I mean, going back to the past and remembering things. And again, the focus is on the narrowness of existence. Narrowness of existence means paralysis. Again, there is also thoughts about moving away from Dublin because Dublin is paralyzed and it paralyzes people and its inhabitants. So again, we have this sense of inertia. Inertia means that nothing happens. Everything is still. So again, the lack of movement, the lack of action and vitality correspond to the empty kind of life that Eveline is leading. So as you can see, the action or the lack thereof or the non-action that we have reflects what happens within the soul and the mind of the character herself. So you have paralysis, an inertia on the level of the structure of the short story and also on the level of the characters. Um, Again, there was this chance where she can change her life and start something different and perhaps recover from this kind of paralysis. But she missed it or she wasted it by thinking too much about her obligations towards her family, towards her society, and towards religion. Again, in those cases, you normally appeal to God in order to show you the way. But because of the overwhelming set of expectations, obviously, she has to succumb and she has to relent and decide to stay. Again, paralysis is all over the place. When she appeals to God, she is incapable of speech, sight, or movement. This is paralysis in its full sense, right? If you cannot talk, if you cannot move, if you cannot see, what can you describe? This is obviously paralysis. So physical paralysis that would correspond to the rhetorical and the metaphorical paralysis inside the characters. Again, and you almost feel it when she has this encounter with Frank, when she decides that she cannot go. She's non-committal. Non-committal, she doesn't, I mean, her face does not reveal any expression. She set her white face to him like a helpless animal. You cannot glean from her facial expression whether she's happy, sad. Yeah, I'm paralyzed. Paralyzed in body and also in soul. This is also another expressive picture. Look at the light, look at the colors, look at how fragile she is. So these are all things that reflect this state of paralysis that she lives in. So we're talking about the inner consciousness of the characters. The narrator is a third person one, and the narrator tells us the story from Eveline's point of view. It is her thoughts and feelings and perceptions that we are sharing and exposed to. So again, no action, no development of the plot. This is what we call novels and narratives of psychology, where the focus is on the inner recesses of the human character. So you wouldn't expect any climaxes and hot spots. It's all anticlimactic, and the ending is obviously um, uncertain. You never know what will happen next. Again, um, it's always good to make those comparisons between the closures and endings of your stories. What happened in an encounter where it seems that we have a release. People could escape from the clutches of this ugly old man, ugly in manners, of course. Obviously, in Eveline, we are in a state of limbo. Limbo means that you don't know what course of action to take. You don't know whether to sit and stay or go, right? So obviously, this is a dilemma in and of itself. If you are undecided, what kind of feeling do you have? If you keep being undecided for years and years, I'm asking you, if you have to choose and you are undecided and people are waiting you to choose and you are undecided, is this the right course to take?
No, you will lose the
No.
time and the chances.
Yes, and yeah, because obviously nobody waits,
Yeah.
because yeah, you are missing chances, you're wasting them by being unresolved. Again, if you think about Eveline as a modernist piece of writing, you will see a lot of them. One of them would be the idea that you don't have a closure. This is what we were just talking about, the idea that the novel ends in a limbo. You don't know whether Eveline will have other chances, whether she will go back home, and when she goes back home, and will she resume her life the way she's used to. So again, no closure. Normally, when you don't have an ending, a happy ending, to be more specific, this is a sign of modernism and modernity. Um, so again, Joyce does not provide us as readers with narrative closure or the satisfaction of a happy ending, which is obviously uh, um, very modernist. I mean, the idea that you don't have a happy ending or a closure is a sign of modernity or modernism. Um, Again, remember that we don't have action to speak of. Nothing happens. Everything happens within the mind and the soul of the cat. This is also modern. You don't have much action. Again, even the idea of having a girl um, is new. Normally, men are given more space in short stories and novels. Those are interesting comparisons between an encounter, which is obviously a little bit typical. You wouldn't say that it is a modernist. It's a more or less like a traditional piece of work, while Eveline is very much a modernist piece of work. Again, with Eveline, we're focusing on the powerlessness and the sense of paralysis. Um, Again, I mean, you feel those senses of paralysis through the nothingness in the short story, whether on the level of action and plot or on the level of what Eveline says and does not say, and obviously she doesn't say much. So Joyce is most concerned in Eveline with examining the tremendous pressures brought to bear upon unmarried women in Ireland. So it's women, more specifically, it's unmarried women. Again, so what are those forces and what are those pressures that Eveline and her ilk or the likes of her have? It's a combination of societal expectations, religious obligations, and even familial expectations. So many women were placed in Eveline's position, expected to sacrifice any chance of happiness for the good of others. Um, and actually, this is what Joyce is challenging. He is challenging this common practice that the youngest daughter in the family has to remain unmarried in order to take care of aging parents. And of course, her aging parents will die at one point and she will be left alone when she is already old. Remember, we said that there is always a reference to the Virgin Mary. And women in Ireland were always associated with the Virgin Mary. Of course, the Virgin Mary has such uh, um, veneration and respect among Catholics in general and among the Irish especially. And what is perhaps known about Virgin Mary is the idea that she is the epitome of service. Whenever people think of service, of selfless service, they think of the Virgin Mary. So again, Eveline and others are compared to the Virgin Mary. So they have to sacrifice in order to make other people happy. They have to serve in order to make other people happy. So what happens if they don't? It means that they are not following the Virgin Mary. So as you can see, uh, um, the Virgin Mary has very particular and very special significance in Irish culture and religion. So, religious veneration means respect, where the Virgin Mary played a potent part in these expectations. So, if you're sacrificing, it means that you are following the Virgin Mary. So, women were to direct themselves uncomplainingly towards service, seeking the reward in heaven. So, and this is what is happening with Eveline. She feels herself further bound by a deathbed. This is even more the fact that while her mother was dying, she asked her to keep the family together as long as possible. Keeping the family together means that she has to sacrifice any chance of marriage, any chance of job opportunities. So in Eveline, the deathbed scene becomes the death knell for the family's second female generation. So it's not the mother who has sacrificed for so long, it's now the girl and obviously the second generation of females. Again, who is reinforcing those ideas of service, of sacrificing? Of course, it is the Catholic Church. Um, Again, typical of Catholic houses, you can see all kinds of paintings and photographs of saints. And obviously, they associate themselves with some of those saints. Again, but there is a reference to a priest, unnamed one, who, ironically enough, managed to escape from the city. Again, even members of the religious institution feels paralysis, feels that if they stay, they are going to feel paralyzed and they wouldn't fulfill their potential. So again, the different images and paintings are meant to kind of correspond to what is happening to Eveline and her life. Okay. And then we come to the idea of choice. So did Eveline choose to sacrifice? Did she choose to uh, be like this? No, obviously she
Yes.
didn't. She didn't. It's she is driven to it by society, by the expectations of society, by the expectations of the Catholic Church. Remember, they are all religious. So she didn't choose to do those charitable works, sacrificing herself, helping her parents in their old age. These were all obligations that were thrust on her. She is just as effectively paralyzed, growing up in one sense only while remaining a child experientially at the same time. So paralysis is what the story is all about. You are so set in your ways, you don't know what direction to take. You don't know whether to stay or to go. And obviously, this is Ireland, this is Dublin, and this is the female folks in all the literature of Ireland and especially in Eveline. So it's the city and its norms and mores and ideas that is keeping people, especially women, from moving on and pursuing careers and having independent lives of their own. So the city, as Joyce represents it, seems to possess a particular power to limit individual action. It is also the past, in particular, in the form of family and church tradition that hold on to evil. Again, you have to conform. You have to follow. You have to say yes. Because if you say no, and this is non-conformity, non-conformity means that you're not following traditions. You know what happens. You're going to be ostracized. Nobody's going to respect you or even deal with you. So obviously, Eveline is unable to defy her father because of his patriarchal authority, the fact that he is male and males have authority. So she cannot run away from him. Exactly like the boys in an encounter, where they cannot obviously run away from the educational system who was invented and created, which was created by men, not women, and also from this menacing man that they have met. He is old. He can be a figure of authority because he is older than them. But this is basically what Eveline is about. Do you have any questions about Eveline? I'll give you a minute to think about it and perhaps give me your thoughts. Of course, you know that Eveline is part of the second quiz. What else is also part of the second quiz?
Uh, all the Dubliners stories and short stories. Eveline, Clay, no, Clay, no. Eveline, or Encounter, or the first one.
Sisters.
Sister.
Yeah, Sisters, yeah, and the 20th century introduction.
Nice, good. Okay, so let's move all the way back. I think we spoke enough about Encounter. How much do you know? I will remember. How much do you remember about Encounter? Those who have read it, raise your hands.
Is
I read this.
Encounter one of the stories? Is Encounter one of the stories?
Ah, yes, it is. Is
I
it?
read the summary.
Okay, and let me ask you, let me reaffirm that because you guys have received the email that I haven't received from Dr. Mohsen about, did he specify the short stories that are in the second quiz? I'm asking everyone.
You said the first
Yeah.
Yeah, Wissam, let's,
Encounter, the sister,
Wissam,
and Eveline.
yeah, Encounter, Sisters, and Eveline, right? And of course,
Yes.
the um, the characteristics of
Introduction for
the
the 20th century.
early 20th century and modernism and stuff. Nice. Okay. Okay. So again, back to my question about Encounter. Those who have read Encounter, raise your hands.
Doctor, I read only the summary plot. It is
Oh,
okay.
that's fine. But you still have time to read the short story. Yeah. Anybody else,
Okay.
Imam? Marim? Okay, that's fine. But of course, you heard what I said about it yesterday. If you haven't read it, you heard what I
Mm,
said about it yesterday.
yeah.
Let me ask this question to everyone. So, what do you still remember from what I said about Encounter yesterday? If you would like to come to the mic and share thoughts and ideas, please go ahead.
You you let us to read the plot,
Mm-hmm.
and we understand what the story is talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
you explain that there is a reason behind that the boys is skipping the school. That is, it is a strict school. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard. They give them all kind of grammars, religions, and the
Mm-hmm.
education. It's under the Catholic Church control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And boys or the children in general, they want to play. They like move.
Mm-hmm.
But in the Catholic schools, there is no play, only
Only
religion.
discipline. You have to be
E-
self-disciplined. Yeah, you
yeah,
have to play by the rules. Don't
yeah,
play in and the ground. You play by the rules, and the
yeah,
rules are, for the most part, very strict. Don't
yeah,
do this.
right,
Do this. You're not doing this the right
exactly.
way. Yeah.
Mm. And we talked
Um.
about the old man.
Uh,
Yeah, we talked. Yeah.
Actually, the old man in one of the
Mm-hmm.
interpretations was an opportunity for them. They wanted to reach out to the other. And obviously, the old
Yeah,
man failed and frustrated them by
yeah,
his acts and moves. Again, this
right.
is another indication. So it's not only the educational system that frustrated them, it's not only the kind of curriculum or the kind of material that they used to study, it is also the people outside the school. So again, society in general, with its different sectors, are failing children. Um, and the possibility for encounter where people reach out to each other, understand each other, perhaps build bridges between each other, was faltered and frustrated, right? So
Yeah.
encounter can be a good thing. Encounter is meeting. When you meet somebody, obviously you're breaking away from your isolation and loneliness. Okay, because encounter entails that we have more than one person, and if we have more than one person, it means this is you're breaking this shell of isolation that you're putting yourself in. Okay, but what happens if this other person that you're reaching out to is not the right kind of person? So better be isolated than mixing with wrong people. What do you think? So can you hear me, everyone?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So in one of those interpretations, the short story starts very well from its cover and from its title, Encounter, where people meet each other, where you have this kind of people reaching out to other people, which is obviously good. But what happens if you reach out to the wrong person? Obviously, it's not good. And what happens if you reach out to a person after other persons and other institutions failed you, like the religious institution, like school and its systems and regulation? Everybody failed you. You went out, and at the very first chance and opportunity to reach out to people, they also failed you in um, as we have seen with this old man. So on different levels, those boys were betrayed. Society betrayed them on different levels. Again, that will bring us to the idea of paralysis. So obviously, they were paralyzed at school, not physically because they can move, but they are not given enough space to move in. We're not told that they are reading things that stimulate their imagination, and we're not told that they can move around and they have playgrounds where they can spend their energies, right? And
Right.
like I said, this is why they feel paralyzed. And if you feel paralyzed, you either succumb to this kind of paralysis, you submit to your fate, and you say, "No, there is nothing I can do about it, and I'm paralyzed, and and I am proud. I'm proud." Or you try to change your life. And this is what the boys were trying to do. So skipping school was not a bad thing in this case. Actually, it was an opportunity for them to explore the wide world. They know that there is more to life than just this kind of Jesuit school, if it's a Jesuit kind of school. They know that there is more to life than just those empty grammar books that they are reading. Um, Again, when they go out, full of high hopes and great expectations, what did they receive in return? Again, um, strange looks by people who thought that they belonged to a different sect or creed. And then they meet this very weird, ugly guy, ugly in manners, like I said. So everybody is failing them. And this is obviously the message that James Joyce is trying to uh, kind of get across to us. That of all the sectors of society, children and women are treated very badly. And the future is actually built on them. The future is built on children who will later become, adults. And the children is also built on women who are going to get married and they are going to give birth to the leaders of the future. So if you don't invest enough time and enough energy on those sectors, you're losing. You're wasting potential. What do you think? صح?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move to Clay, another interesting short story. So how much do we know about Clay, if any? Have you read Clay?
Yeah.
Okay. Who else?
I read the summary, doctor.
Good. Good, Sarah. Okay. So let's have Sarah. Can you give us the summary?
Sure, it's about this girl named Maria, middle-aged, unmarried woman, working
Is
in
she
this
married? Was she
unmarried.
married? Unmarried.
Unmarried.
Yeah. Yes.
She was working at charitable laundry in Dublin. She works in the evenings, and
That's fine if you
That's
you
all
don't.
I remember. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, anybody else? Let's go and read the summary. I think I have it. Yeah, yalla. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, read it and tell me when you have finished because it's a little bit long, I think. Yeah, it is long. Yeah, go ahead. Give you a couple of minutes.
Don't, doctor.
Okay, let's move on. Move on.
Yeah. Don't. Don't, doctor.
Okay. So how different or how similar it is to the other short stories that we have taken so far? I'm asking. This is a general question for everyone.
It's similar to Eveline's story. She's seeking to get married to someone. It's a sad story, actually.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. She trying to be more to. She is paralyzed like other Dubliners.
Yes,
She's
her life
yeah.
is She doesn't move forward, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Hmm.
Okay. Any other thoughts, anyone and everyone? Wissam, have you taken this with Dr. Mohsen?
Yes.
What do you
No,
have to
we
say
haven't
about it?
actually, but
Yeah,
an indication that she hasn't moved. She still visits the one boy that she used to nurse.
yeah,
He was a child.
yeah. She doesn't have a boy of her own, let right?
Yeah.
A sign of movement would obviously she's past her prime. She's no longer young, and not so many people are interested in her. I'm talking about gentlemen callers and men and husbands. So a sign of paralysis would be that she is doing the same thing for years. She visits the same family, which is obviously not her family, and she's focused on them. And obviously, she is mired in a drab, routine kind of work that does not fulfill her potential, obviously. Right? And even when she met this guy on the tram, I think it was a tram, he was making fun of her.
Hmm.
Yeah, of course, he was making fun of her because of her old age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, society, which has treated her so badly for so many years, and it is obviously the fault of the male society. A member of this famous male society is still mocking her. Okay, so obviously the male society does all the wrongs, and obviously they get away with it, which is something that Joyce obviously is opposed to and against. I think Dina wanted to say something.
Yes, doctor. I wanted to say that's unlike the female protagonist in Eveline. She didn't have this decisions to do. She didn't have to choose between things, and she also had a boring life. Like, she didn't have anything to do. Like, nothing happened in the story. Not much events happened in the
Which is a
story.
sign of stagnation, which is also a sign of paralysis, right?
Yes,
Like all the other stories.
yes,
Again, and you said that she doesn't have decisions to take. No, she's obviously she ran out of those decisions, but obviously they were wrong ones. When she decided to not to pursue a career, for example, perhaps she when we don't know much about her background, perhaps she was also like Eveline. She has to sacrifice her life for her family, for her parents, and for her brothers. She has taken decisions, but obviously those decisions were wrong. Again, why they were wrong? Because she was driven to take those wrong decisions by the male society, which expects her to live a life of service, to be like, for example, the Virgin Mary, and an epitome of service, and all those kinds of things. I'll give you some space to read it on your own. And I'll meet you again for an extra class on today is what, Monday?
You said on Wednesday.
Did I say Wednesday? At what
Yeah,
time? On Wednesday at
at
what time?
the same time, 11:30.
Okay, so it's 11:30 at or on Wednesday. Yeah, I agree. معانا يا وسام. Sam,
Yes, yes.
now we're meeting on Wednesday at 11:30, inshallah. Okay, so what do I want you to do, everyone? I would like you to go over those different short stories and read them thoroughly. And do we have more? Of course, we have more. We have, I think, The Dead. We also have um, A Painful Case. So I would like you to read A Painful Case along with the other three short stories. Until I see you again, inshallah, I wish you
Thank you, Doctor.